Welcome to the Vol Bros presented by the Ooltewah Club. My name is Evan. This is my brother Rustin, and we are two Vol Bros who are actually bros in real life. And as always, we cannot thank the Ooltewah Club enough for sponsoring our show. Tremendous partnership with them. We are so appreciative. They are fantastic. Looking forward to the weather getting a little bit warmer. It's not going to happen this week, but we'll hope to get out there soon. We're supposed to get snow this week, so definitely not golfing weather when it's snowing, unless you live in Michigan and we don't. So, very excited for this show this evening because we have a ton of stuff to talk about. Just on Rocky Top alone, there were 5 wins this weekend. If we were to expand that geographically to include the rest of the country, because the softball team is traveling all over the place right now, then that number 5 wins would go way up real quick. But we got 3 things we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about the Lady Vols, and we're going to talk about the men's game yesterday, and then we're going to finish the evening talking about, did we learn anything about the baseball team that we didn't already know from this weekend? Glad to have Rustin with us. As always, Rustin was there today in Thompson Bowling Arena to watch the Lady Vols, but it is always a good evening when we have the man, the myth, the legend, Reed Carringer joining us. Reed, thank you so much for being with us, buddy.
Oh, thanks, guys. Yeah, I'm ready for some golf weather too. This is definitely not going to be it this week, guys.
Amen. Reed, you have, just so you know, man, you have a standing invitation. If you are ever in the Chattanooga area and you got a few hours to kill, you just say, "Hey, let's go play," and we'll be like, "We're gonna make it happen." We will be happy to treat you to around anytime you want.
Don't invite me if you don't mean it, because I will show up. Let me tell you.
I 100% mean it.
About me.
I 100% mean it. You can be on an episode of Cart Cam with me.
I would love to do that.
Speaking of Cart Cam, I got another one coming out this week. Me and my son. It's pretty funny. But Reed, I would love to have you on Cart Cam. That would be awesome.
Well, we'll make it happen. We'll coordinate it, and I'll come down for half a day or something. It'll be fun.
I would love that. We'll treat you to dinner, and you can bring your family. We'll treat them to dinner too at the Ooltewah Club. It'll be a good time.
Sounds great to me.
I love it. Well, so huge win. Now I say that, speaking of the Lady Vols today, it was very surprising actually in the first quarter to look at Ole Miss's conference record and how much better Ole Miss's conference record was than Tennessee's. But I have my own thoughts about this game. I'm sure officiating will not make an appearance at all in this show. But Reed, we'll start with you. What were your takeaways from the Lady Vols today? What'd you think about that? Was it awkward for you seeing Kelly Harper at halftime talking about the Lady Vols? It was for me a little bit. Still, I feel bad for her when she has to do that. But
yeah, well, I think I've seen that before, and I mean, I know it's got to be weird for these coaches that get fired from a program and then have to go talk about that program for a living. But she always handles it well. She was a pro.
Agreed.
Here as a player, as a coach, handles it with class like we would expect from Kelly. So it's just, if it's weird, it's weird for us. I think. I don't think it's weird for her.
Good
just
point.
My 2 cents there. And then to your point about Ole Miss, this was one of the hotter teams in the SEC. They won 4 of their last 5 games. A win over number 8 Kentucky. They are 12th in the net rankings, 1 spot behind Tennessee. Lady Vols 11th. So they good, solid team. I really think we saw kind of the good and the bad of this Lady Vols team today. We saw them shoot really well. We saw Spear tear it up 5 of 7 from 3. We didn't see them launching a ton of threes as a team, which I liked. Ole Miss only shot 36%. Lady Vols shot 52 plus. But too many turnovers. Some kind of I don't want to call them boneheaded turnovers. They were just careless. Too many careless turnovers, which we have seen at times when this team can kind of shoot itself in the foot. Really, when the Lady Vols are clicking on all cylinders, we saw it against UConn, right? Who just beat South Carolina. They can beat anybody. They can beat anybody. and they've got to clean up some of the mistakes. But I thought today was a huge win. I really did for them as a program. I thought they controlled the game largely, had a couple scares there a few times, but that was not a bad Ole Miss team. This kind of felt like a game that could be sort of a trap. Lady Vols could lose it if they don't play their game. So big win, getting March implications now. Maybe they get to host a couple of games with this victory. So all in all, great day for the Lady Vol basketball program. Been a couple of big weeks for them since I last spoke with you guys. So continuing to head in the right direction. And yeah, Ole Miss, good team, good basketball team they beat today.
Well, I think you made a fantastic point there about the implications this has for the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament. For anybody who might be watching that isn't familiar with the main difference between the women's tournament and the men's tournament, 100% neutral site games. The women's tournament, the top 16 teams get to host the first 2 rounds of the tournament at their home court. So this was a huge deal for potentially getting to host 2 rounds in Thompson Bowling Arena.
Sorry, last thing, guys, on that.
Go ahead.
Tennessee Lady Vols have 8 wins now over net top 60 teams. 8. So, early in the year, we talked about it on here too. Start out undefeated, you're thinking, well, schedule's going to get a lot harder. Is this style of play going to translate into a very tough and deep SEC, and with UConn added on there? And it has. It has. They have more than held their ground in Kim Caldwell's first year, and 8 wins over net top 60 is going to get you a long way as far as when seeding comes around in March.
Absolutely. Rustin, you were there in the house tonight, or this afternoon, I guess. What was the atmosphere like? What were your takeaways from the game?
The atmosphere was good. I think they said I think they said there was 12,000 in attendance. That's a good day. The biggest difference in the game was points off turnovers. Tennessee had 24, Ole Miss had 4, which is pretty incredible that Ole Miss only scored 4 points off turnovers. They're a very good defensive team. They typically generate a lot of offense off of defense. So for them to only get 4 points off turnovers is pretty good. And to outscore them by 20 is just, it's the difference in the game. The other thing that was really interesting was points in the paint. And this is a bizarre stat, but we outscored them in the paint by 20, 44-24, but we got out-rebounded. So we literally were getting to the paint, scoring off first opportunities.
Exactly.
And not really giving much outside of that. Jewel Spear is so fun to watch. She is so incredibly efficient. She doesn't take bad shots. When she's open, it's going up, and she's probably making it. She has fantastic
ball handler.
Yeah, she has fantastic decision making. She is an absolute pleasure to watch. I'm going to miss when she graduates. She's the heart and soul of what they're doing right now. And she calms the rest of them down when they need to get some composure. There were literally times today you could hear her on the court above all the crowd noise, above all the coaches, above all the other players. You could hear her calling what they were doing. There were multiple times that the point guards weren't being verbal, and Jewel was over there orchestrating everything from the wing. It was, and you could hear every word she was saying. It was amazing. She's very vocal. She is going to be our biggest loss after this year. They are going to miss her badly. But they just keep finding ways. Kudos to whoever is coaching post players. Z Spearman and Jillian Hollingshed just continue to get better and better and better. They are performing at a really high level. Still want to see Sarah Puckett figure it out. She baffles me. It's like she's just kind of out there. Like she cannot figure out where she fits in. And if she ever figures it out, they're going to be hard to beat. But it was a fun atmosphere. Tennessee fans, I don't know how bad it looked on television. In person, I'm tired of saying it. SEC women's basketball officials are just horrendous. They anticipate things. They have no idea what they're calling half the time. Then they blow their whistle and realize it wasn't what they thought it was, and then they try to make something up. It's horrendous. I don't know if they showed the replay on television, but when they called Sam Spencer for a walk, she had the ball about 30 feet from the basket, and she was just pivoting. And they called her for a walk. The female official, there was 3 officials, there was only 1 woman. The female official literally did a dance to demonstrate what Sam did and changed her pivot foot multiple times. Then they showed it on the Jumbotron, and everybody saw that, no, actually, she didn't. So this woman made a complete fool of herself doing this little shimmy shake dance on the side of the floor as she called her travel, and then the whole place just erupted when it was obvious that no, actually, Sam didn't walk at all. I have not seen Kim Caldwell that angry in a long time, because it was just constant for about a 12-minute span. I don't think they got a call right for about a 12-minute span. Any of them. I think all 3 of them missed almost every call both ways. Like it was unbelievable. It was like they were trying not to get it right.
Well, I texted Rustin at one point during the game, and I said, I don't know if you can see it in the gym, in the arena there, but they keep zooming in on TV on the sidelines and on the court where players were just chewing the officials out. And so was Kim Caldwell. She was just chewing them out, man. Like I've never seen her that animated with the referees. I think my favorite call, and I say that sarcastically, in the first half, Tennessee makes a shot. Girl for Ole Miss catches the ball out of the nets, walks out of bounds, and one of her teammates yells at her, "No, hey, I'm going to throw it in." So the girl who's holding the ball that just walked out of bounds steps across the end line, turns and passes it to her teammate who is stepping out of bounds. And the ref standing there and they do nothing. Like, I mean, that's a turnover. And they did nothing. They just let it fly. And I'm like, elementary basketball, they call that. I mean, like my son, when he was a 9-year-old, we had to call that when they would do that, you know. Like you might let them get away with a travel or a double dribble here and there, but if they step across the line and pass it to their teammate who then steps out of bounds, that's a turnover, even in elementary age. And they didn't call it at all. I was shocked watching that, and I laughed. I was like, "You got to be kidding me right now!" Unreal.
As bad as, you know, as much as we complain about SEC officiating in football and men's basketball, it is multiple times worse for women's basketball, which is a shame because there's some points that Rustin made there. Like it's a good product the Lady Vols are putting out on the floor. You know, It is. Spear was great today. No turnovers, 28 minutes, 28 points in a game when Tennessee had 20 turnovers. And to your point too, Rustin, like this team, they finish. They finish around the rim better than the men probably. You know, like they really that's one of the areas I think you can point to from this program to the previous 2 programs that it's not a style thing. They're just better at finishing around the bucket. So good product, enjoyable to watch, made not as enjoyable by the choice of officiating. Once again, thanks, SEC.
Did they show on TV Z Spearman and Kanaya Boyd throw the towels on the court?
No.
Okay, so in the early 4th quarter, there was a play where one of the girls for Ole Miss drove, and again, officials anticipating rather than letting it play out. The girl goes up for a shot. Ruby Whitehorn blocks it cleanly. I mean, the replay showed nothing but ball. and they call a foul because they didn't think she could get there, and blew the whistle before the contact happened. And then, oops, there was no contact. Kanaya Boyd and Z Spearman literally threw towels onto the court from the bench. They were so frustrated. And a manager jumped up and scrambled out and grabbed it, but the refs saw it. They saw the towels fly onto the court and realized, yeah, I blew that. And so they didn't call the technical because they even knew, yeah, I missed that one. That was terrible.
Well, and like I said, I texted Rustin during the game and I said, somebody's about to get teed up. Like I'll be shocked if someone does not receive a tech because everybody's chewing the officials so hard.
Well, there was it seemed like a 15-minute stoppage at one point also. Yes. I thought, are we going to finish this game? Like, what's going on here? It shouldn't take this long ever.
And if you're going to, so that's my biggest pet peeve in the entire NCAA rule book. If you're going to take that long to review a call, which by the way, they called a foul on Sam Spencer and she's the one that got decked.
Right.
So you go spend all that time watching that video. You see clearly that Sam didn't actually foul her at all. She got a forearm to the face. You call the flagrant, but you're not allowed to go back and take the foul off the board that you royally screwed up on. That blows my mind. Like, why do we get to go watch a review for 10 minutes and stop everything and then only get it half right?
Well, and I don't know what they said in the arena because I saw the people erupted when they saw Ole Miss going to the free throw line by themselves. So they said on the lady comes over and announces into it, which I don't think she understood that a microphone amplifies your voice. And so she kept like screaming into the microphone on the sideline there for the TV audience whenever she was updating, what was happening. But they called it an intentional foul. They didn't even call it a flagrant. Then they called an intentional foul after the play had ended on Spearman about 5 minutes later. That doesn't even make sense to me. Like, how is it an intentional foul after the play was over? That's a flagrant, I mean, like, it was bizarre, man. It was wild.
They actually, in the stadium, they didn't announce anything. It was dead silent, and all of a sudden Ole Miss is going to the free throw line. Everybody's like, what the heck? And then the PA announcer realized that nothing was said. And after the girls shot the free throws, the PA announcer announced, and there's an intentional foul.
What's your, while we're lamenting officiating for a moment, indulge me. What's your least favorite call? So we got the anticipation foul, right? Where, they can't make that play or they're going to foul, that you get a lot. Do you hate that more, or do you hate the, they missed the shot, let's blow the whistle 4 seconds later foul? Because that one drove me crazy. What was a few games ago when Milicic got called for the foul and the dude hung on the rim too long, but he didn't touch him, and then they called it after the ball was almost inbound already, I hate let's wait and see if they miss the shot and then blow the whistle foul as well.
Totally agree. Well, and Rustin posted from our Volbros account this afternoon, about when they stopped the game for in real time over 10 minutes, probably, to review a call. And he made, a statement saying, that they got to get a handle on this. You can't stop the flow of the game this much and that kind of thing. And a gentleman on X was talking about how, officiating never determines a game, that kind of thing. And I understand where people are coming from that, but that's also demonstrably false. Here's why I say that. How many games has Tennessee been in a one possession game this so far this season? I mean, their first 3 or 4 losses was by combined 4 points. So, I mean,
they lost. What was their first 3 games was by 4 points, I think.
Yeah, there you go.
One
All right,
call.
so exactly. I mean, think about that play in the first half where the girl takes the ball through the nets, takes it out of bounds, walks inbounds, passes it to her teammate who walks out of bounds to inbound the ball, and they just let them retain possession. No, that should have been Tennessee's ball underneath their own goal at that point. What if this had come down to a one possession game, and because Ole Miss had a free possession given to them, that would have changed the game? That 100% matters. And so, yes, officiating does determine and influence the outcome of a game. Does it totally determine it? No, of course not. There's hundreds of thousands of things in game that happen, but some of those hundreds of thousands of things are plays that are called or not called. What if Sam Spencer gets called for that foul Rustin was talking about there? That they went and reviewed and realized, oh, we messed that up pretty bad, but they couldn't remove the foul from her. What if that was in the second half? What if that had been her fourth foul and she had to leave the game for a while simply because she was now in foul trouble? That would have totally altered the outcome of that game. So yes, officiating does impact the outcome of a game, and that's why people get upset about it. What were you going to say, Rustin?
I think the thing that drives me nuts more than any of them is the anticipation calls, and it happens on the women's side way too much. They, rather than just letting the play happen, they assume they know what's going to happen, and they blow the whistle, and then everything falls apart. That drives me nuts. How many times this year have we seen them call a charge because something looked weird? And then you watch it, and they only called it because it looked strange, and they anticipated something happening that didn't happen, and then they play it back, and even the announcers are like, I don't know about that one. It drives me insane.
Well, let's go to comments. I'm going to go through these pretty quickly here. Let's see. Big Bird. Whoa, we got Sesame Street representing tonight. That's what I'm talking about. Welcome, Big Bird. Tell Bert and Ernie we said, hey, basketballs better fix the first half woes before the big dance starts. It's a funny thing, basketball. You make shots and you win. You miss them and you lose. And we saw that in real time first and second half today. Also, Zakai decided he wasn't going to lose. We'll get to that in a second, though. Diesel 80, welcome, buddy. He said, baseball looked dominant. Baseball team needs work. Or basketball team needs work. Let's see. Mina Lackey said, good. Hey, welcome, Mina Lackey. She said, good evening, Vol Bros and Reed, and the best chat on the interweb. Absolutely. Mississippi Vol, welcome, buddy. He said, good evening, guys. Well, our men had me very concerned in that first half yesterday. Good to see him pull it together. That was an important win by our ladies today. That Ole Miss team is no slouch. Agreed. Big Bird has a fantastic point, and I think he's 100% on the money. He said, we won't know how good the baseball team is until they go to Houston in a few weeks. And I would strongly agree with that. And I'll explain why I agree so adamantly with that here in a little bit. Mississippi Vol said, as far as our ladies are concerned, I really like their chances in every game going forward, except the Kentucky game in Lexington. That's going to be a tough one up there. Yep. I mean, like Reed said, they've demonstrated they can hang with anybody. They can play with anybody. If they can get a couple bounces go their way, and to Reed and Rustin's point, both of them mentioned this. Spearman has gotten nothing but better throughout the season has gone on, particularly finishing around the rim. She's a huge asset to this team right now. Mina, like you said, not sure what heebie-jeebies our guys are having, but I'm hoping they get a handle on it. Rebel Jew, welcome. Great to have you with us. Still one of the best names on the interwebs right there. Eric, welcome, buddy. Great to have you. He said, what's up, Evan? Rustin and Vol Bros. It's been a good weekend for our Vols athletics. It's a great to be a Vols fan all the time. Absolutely. It's a good time in the history of Tennessee athletics right now, too. Reed, I'm just curious. I just got a question for you. How does it feel to you? All you've known your whole life is Tennessee athletics. Then you're on the beat for years and years. What's it like for you right now, having come out of the Butch Jones era where you knew way too much, more probably than you wanted to know during that time? What is it like for you watching Tennessee sports right now?
Well, that's a good question. I was talking to a buddy about this last night, actually. It kind of, that whole thing sort of ruined it for me, and I couldn't enjoy it, especially football. But I never really soured on basketball, but it's been really as far as for football, the hiring Heupel got me back in the fold there. and was excited about the hire, excited about the product I thought they would put on the field, and started going to games as a fan for the first time in 15 years or something. So that's been a blast. I've always followed and loved basketball, and that's the I don't want to say it's the only part of my job that I miss, but I really miss the basketball beat because I'm a basketball fan. I love going to practices, talking to the coaches about the walkthroughs, ways that they thought they were going to be able to attack opponents, seeing kind of the wrinkles they were prepared for and throwing in. Learned so much. Got to sit in on some scouting sessions with coaches and things. So loved that. Never really soured on the basketball program. But there's no better time than now in our lives if you follow all Tennessee sports to be a Tennessee fan. And if you're not enjoying this run right now, softball team's 10-1, went 5-0 this weekend. It's a great time. It's a great time to be a Tennessee fan. And if you're not enjoying this, then I don't find another hobby. I don't know.
Amen, brother. Like Andy Bernard said, I wish you could know when you were in the good old days. Well, we're in them.
Absolutely.
This is the best days we might have in our lives right now. It's incredible. Mississippi Vols said it was good to see the amount of freshmen contributing on the baseball team this weekend. Going to be very interesting to see how they look in Houston in a couple weeks. I totally agree, 100%. Sean, welcome, buddy. Great to have you. Mina Likey said UT needs to have its own network. That'd be cool. Let's see. Steve, welcome, buddy. Glad you're with us. Mina Likey's excited to see Reed. We are too. We love having Reed on here. It's a treat for us every time. Let's see. Rebel Juice said March 8th can't come soon enough. That's when we move back to Tennessee. New area of Tennessee this time, Tiptonville. Hey, that's cool. We're glad to have you back. Absolutely. Let's see. Eric said also, what's up, Reed? Big Bird said Lady Vols on a winning streak. Absolutely. Let's see here. Oreo Puppy Dog, welcome. Great to have you. He said our girls will go a long way in the tournament. I agree. I do. I think they're at least. Go ahead.
No, they're not intimidated. You're not seeing them. They may go through some bad stretches where they shoot themselves in the foot. But they're not blowing games, like they correct course largely. And I just think even those close losses early in the season, that they didn't lose those games. They got beat. And I think that bodes well headed into March. You don't want to beat yourself. That's just step one. And I really like the way this team is composed, and I love the hire at the time. They have blown my expectations out of the water this year, and I expect them to continue to do that. You could see them maybe after beating UConn getting a little bit of the ego, maybe letting their foot off the gas. Kim Caldwell's not going to let that happen, and they beat a good Ole Miss team today and handled business. So I just think I like the trajectory of the program, but I like the trajectory of this team right now as well.
Absolutely. Matt made a great point, and this totally confirms what you're just saying, Reed. Said Ole Miss has 2 top 10 wins. So, yeah, this was a great win against a team that's ranked higher than us in the conference. Absolutely. Great point.
They were hot 4 of the last 5, started out slow, been tearing it up. I was worried about this game.
Oreo Puppy Dog said if our ladies hit their foul shots, they could be potentially undefeated at this point, particularly with the Oklahoma game. I think you could definitely make that point. 1-point loss. Josh, welcome, buddy. Great to have you. He said, what do the Lady Vols need to do to get 2 home games in the tournament, and then preferably be in the Birmingham pool or pot of games instead of having to go all the way to Spokane? Well, if you look at their schedule coming up, the Lady Vols host Alabama this Thursday. Then they have to go to Gainesville. Then they have to go to Kentucky. And then they finish the season hosting Georgia. Then obviously, who knows what's going to happen in the SEC tournament. But in order to host the 2 home games, they're sitting pretty right now. Particularly if they go 3-1 to finish out the season, I think no matter what happens in the SEC tournament, they're going to host 2 home games in the tournament, in my opinion. I could be wrong. I guess it depends on who that one loss is to. If they lose to Kentucky and they beat the other 3, then I think they're hosting 2 games. What do y'all think?
I think
Alabama.
if I had to pick right now, they're sitting pretty 11th in the net. They're going to host 2. Unless there's some kind of collapse down the stretch, in my opinion. And this win was kind of maybe the fulcrum that teetered that to very likely or probable to you're going to have to battle down the stretch. I don't see them. They could always drop a couple games we're not expecting, but that's not really been their MO as a team this year. They've largely won the games they're supposed to win and won a lot of games they weren't really supposed to win too. So I feel pretty good about where they sit. But yeah, certainly if they go 3-1 down the stretch, I think it doesn't matter what happens in the tournament. Would love to play in Birmingham if they advance out of Knoxville for sure, because I think you would have a pretty sizable Lady Vol contingent, especially given how fun this team has been and how long it's been since they've been a contender in March. So good point there, Josh. I'm not sure what it would take for that to go. Seeding every year and regions are a mystery. I feel like nobody. I don't know if the committee knows what they're doing. It's. I don't. I can't.
So,
we obviously should talk about it because that's sort of what we're doing here. But I don't know that they know.
I'll tell you one thing that would really help if there's a really good storyline that they could throw in there to get them playing against somebody from the opposite part of that region in Birmingham. That'll help. That's all they care about.
You all pointed that out last year. I remember about this time when we were talking about seeding for the men's program.
That's exactly right. And sure enough, it was storylines galore. Zakai plays his brother first round, all kinds of stuff. Let's see here. Like he said, does Jewel have a COVID year? She does not. She, unfortunately, this will be her last season. Let's see. Mississippi Vol said, I can't help but notice how our ladies have improved on defense. I agree. They certainly did today. I remember back in November coming in here and hanging 93 on us. They have definitely improved on defense for sure, especially transition defense. Big Orange, welcome. Great to have you. He said, I'm excited for this SEC tournament. March Madness coming up. Let's go get that Final Four. Let's see. Mississippi Vol was talking about Liberty. They came in and put up some points on us. Bobby said, welcome, Bobby. Great to have you, buddy. He said the officials have lost the respect of the players. Not a good thing. That's a fantastic point. Fantastic point. Carl, welcome, buddy. Great to have you. Josh said Spear will definitely be missed. Hey, our uncle. What's up, Uncle Dave? He said, I was listening to the Lady Vols on the radio this afternoon. Brian Rice was about to have at least 1 or 2 conniption fits over the calls that are being made. Yep, that's a good point. Josh said on TV, it seemed like they were very ticky-tack on Tennessee while letting Ole Miss players grab and hold most of the game.
That was a theme for the men's game. If you listen to Rick Barnes's post-game comments, that I'm sure we'll get to here in a minute.
Jonathan said, good evening, Vol Bros and Reed. I didn't get to watch Lady Vol's game live. I wonder what's happened to Puckett this year that she doesn't get to score very much.
She looks completely lost. Today there was a couple of situations where it's like she just doesn't understand where she fits into the system. There was a couple of situations where she could have easily have either slipped to the basket or rolled off a screen and probably had a wide open layup, and she just stands there.
Bobby said officiating most definitely changes the momentum of the game, and key plays can change the direction. Absolutely. Reed, I think you might have been alluding to this a second ago. Josh said Barnes said in the presser yesterday an official actually told him they didn't call a foul because the guy made the shot. That's incredible that that guy would even admit that. I mean, you know what happens. You hope it doesn't happen, but you kind of know it does. The fact that he admitted it, that's not good.
I would be scared to say that to Rick Barnes or Kim Caldwell. I would be scared to be that official.
Yeah,
exactly. And how dumb is it to say that to the head of the rules committee? Like, A little bit of common sense should have kicked in here at some point.
Matt said, who pays the refs? NCAA. Who sued the NCAA and essentially took the rest of their power? Tennessee. Enough said.
Those officials are paid by the SEC.
Right.
Austin, welcome. Great to have you with us. Josh said, my take is our defense is so good against traditional offenses with 3 or 4 guards and 1 big man in the paint. The ones that give us trouble, Vanderbilt, Kentucky play a 5-out style. Oh, so that's a men's basketball thing. So we're about to talk about the men here in just a second. David said, welcome, David. Good to have you. Said, no question the officiating was some of the worst today, but seeing Vol Nation go undefeated this weekend makes it easier to digest. Amen, brother. That's what I'm talking about. Amen. Yeah, I knew Carl would be excited about some baseball. I see you there, Carl. We're going to get to that, buddy. I got it starred for you.
10-0 over the weekend for that Lady Vol softball, baseball, men's and women's basketball. Pretty good weekend.
Not too shabby. It's hard to be better than perfect, right? Hard to be better than perfect. Let's see. I see Josh. I got you, buddy. I got him starred for the men's basketball stuff. Mississippi also. What do you guys expect from the Alabama game Thursday night with the Lady Vols? What do y'all think?
I would compare it to the Florida State game early in the year. Alabama is a small ball team. They like to play 5 out, shoot a bunch of threes. So it'll probably be similar to that Florida State game toward the end of November.
Well, that's another chance for Tennessee to pick up Alabama is 17th right now in the women's basketball net rankings. So you know, another chance to pick up a really quality win for the Lady Vols again this week.
Let's see. Josh said, now this is a good question. This is a very interesting question. He said, do you think Kim Caldwell would shorten the bench in the NCAA tournament?
I think it's going to depend on how the game goes. I do think you're going to see rotations tighten a little bit for a bigger marquee matchup. But she's also like the style of play they play. They're going to have to play a lot of players. Like they're going to have to. So I don't think you're going to see a drastic cut. I think you might see starters play a couple more minutes, bench players play a couple fewer minutes. But I don't think you're going to personally. I don't think you're going to see a drastic cut or change in philosophy from her.
Yeah, I totally agree.
In this system, where you steal minutes is by possession. So then they've already started doing it a little bit. They'll have the occasional situation where the group that Tess Darby's in is a little more heady. And if it's a situation where they need basketball IQ on the court, they'll roll them out there for one possession. And then they'll immediately sub them right back out for the next one. So she's already started doing that, but they'll play 10 right up until the end. That's what they do.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, the rotation we see right now is pretty much as short as she's going to make it. But I also agree with Reed that, these 10 girls that are playing right now, maybe Tess Darby and Kanaya Boyd might not have as many minutes as they have recently. But Kanaya Boyd, she's going to be tough to take off the court defensively because she's playing really, really good defense right now. Spearman, I think her minutes might go up because she's playing so well right now. And of course, foul trouble would dictate a lot of that too. So that's a great question. Justin, welcome, Justin. Good to have you. That's an interesting profile photo. He said, is it fair to say we're the best team in the conference? If you're talking about baseball, yes. That would be the only one I think that we could. I mean, and I know Texas A&M is in our conference. I get that, but for baseball, it would be hard to imagine. Well, I don't want to spoil anything. We'll get to baseball in a minute. Moondrow Speedy, welcome. Great to have you. She said, regarding Sarah Puckett, it just seems she's not athletic enough. She's slow, and bless her heart, not much goes good for the team when she's involved on a play. I hate to say this, but, she said, I'm very excited to see the Lady Vols in the tournament this year, and I'm over the moon for next year. Think of the players coming back and the freshman class coming in. Can't wait. For sure. They got a tough freshman class coming in. They're good players.
and they'll go get one or two in the portal. And
Yeah.
if you're a player in the portal and you're watching Sam Spencer, Z Spearman, Alyssa Latham, even to some extent Jewel Spear, you're watching these girls who could have been anywhere this year, and they're all thriving and having a ton of success. Why would you not want to be a Lady Vol?
Yeah.
Well, and I think too, attractive team for portal players as well. Talking about rotation there, you're going to play, right? Like you got to play a lot of players. You're going to see the court. You're going to get some quality minutes because you got to have athletes and bodies out there.
That's exactly right. Yep. Justin said he meant men's basketball. I would have to say no. I think Auburn right now holds the claim to be the best team in the conference.
I would put Auburn and Alabama and you over Tennessee for sure. Kentucky beat Tennessee twice and then keeps dropping random games. So it's tough. You're looking at what I think I saw like 5 of the top 8 projected seeds are SEC teams right now, which is absolute insanity.
Unheard of, right?
Yeah, it's nuts. And Tennessee, obviously, in that group, as well as the first 2 seed right now, it looks like. So, still got a shot. Season's not over.
That's right. That's exactly right. Mississippi Vols said Reed is correct. Can't forget our softball team. They had a strong weekend as well. Absolutely. Rhonda Segadina Bros, Reed and chat family has been a great weekend for the Orange. Absolutely. Welcome, Rhonda. Glad you're with us. Josh said he agrees about Kanaya. Boy, she does a lot of stuff that we don't see on a stat sheet. Yeah, absolutely. Playing defense like Jemai Mashak for the men, she's fantastic.
She's an offensive threat too. The last probably 5 games, all of a sudden, she's figured out that she can attack.
Exactly, yes. When she's trying to get to the basket.
She did a fantastic job today. If she gets a straight line to the basket, you're not guarding her. She's going to get there.
Well, guys, what about the men's game? I'm all caught up on the comments now. So what about the men's game? What were y'all's takeaways from yesterday? Tale of two halves for sure. What were your takeaways from yesterday? Reed, we'll start with you.
Well, the tale of two halves is a problem. We've seen that from this team a couple of times. I'm never surprised if this team puts 20 up and a half or 50 on offense. I'm not surprised. We don't know what we're going to get. They can score 20. They can score 50. If they score 20, they're probably scoring 50 in the second half. If they score 50 in the first half, they might score 20 in the second half. And I think when you look at Tennessee's schedule coming up, I'll do the negative part first. One half of basketball is not going to cut it at Texas A&M Saturday. Now Tennessee,
Agreed.
It's nice. You get a whole week off, which is needed. I think this team's been kind of worn down. You've seen that. I think that's some of the inconsistency. So getting a week off is going to be nice before a big game at Texas A&M. And then you've got a road game at one of the worst teams in the SEC, LSU, before a massive home matchup with Alabama on March 1st. So, but 2 of those 3 games, you're not going to be able to take a half off. You're going to have to bring your A game to get a victory. So, I think that's the thing that needs to change. Now, the positives are, I don't really ever think this team is out of a game. Other than that Florida blowout loss, they clawed back at Kentucky. They clawed back here against Kentucky also, being down big. They're going to keep battling, keep fighting. They can put the clamps on a team for 5 or 6 minutes and get back into a game. So I think, that's the flip side of that, is the positive side of that. And then obviously, as far as specifically yesterday, Zakai Ziegler masterclass in the second half, which you have seen a couple of times this year when Tennessee has sorely needed it, him just take over a basketball game. And it's when he's on, and it's you can't stop him, which is incredible for a player of his size. That's not something you usually associate with a guy who they claim is 5'9". I think you can't really put into words what he did for Tennessee yesterday. Also, Tennessee's shooting better. Late offenses come along at times the last few weeks. You're seeing them put up some more points, maybe figuring out some things with this roster that work a little bit better. Vols they shot well in the loss at Vandy. So it looked like we're sort of headed toward that type of game here where Tennessee's going to shoot well. Can they get enough stops? Defensively didn't in the first half. Second half still shot well and ended up taking control of the game. But I can't really say enough about what Zakiah did. Meshack, big shot late in that game that I think the coaches saw and drew up where Vandy wasn't really guarding him, and he had the confidence to fire at something we've all been wanting because he's a better offensive player than he realizes, I think. And when he gets a straight line to the basket, like we were talking about with the Lady Vols earlier, there's no one really on this team I would rather have driving at the bucket. Honestly, as far as finishing around the rim, he uses athleticism, but
huge shot that he made from the corner. Huge shot.
Game sealing or game controlling shot.
Agreed.
But Tennessee's not going to lose a lot of games when they shoot 56% from the floor. And they played so poorly defensively in the first half that they almost did, But just want to see more consistency from this team. Hats off to them for gutting it out. And, backs up against the wall. What was the stat, guys? I'm sure you all saw it. They were lost their last 17 games when they trailed by 16. So their backs were against the wall. But somehow, even at halftime, I thought, I don't think they're going to pull this out. They don't really string two bad halves together very often.
No.
Did it against Florida. But big win, puts them back on track to be in that still hunt for number one seed. Firmly in the 2 line. You had to have that game for that.
I think my favorite thing you just said, and it was so subtle, was you said that they claim that he's 5'9".
I meant it to be subtle, but I meant it.
That was fantastic. I love it. Rustin, what'd you take away from yesterday?
Well, 2 things. Number one, I saw a lot of people at halftime talking about how bad we were offensively. And the first half wasn't about offense. We shot 46% from the floor. We shot 40% from 3. The first half was about really bad defense and lack of effort, which is why Rick Barnes challenged their manhood at halftime. The second thing, I thought the play of the night was the jump ball where Felix refused to let go of the ball, because it sent a message to everybody else. No, you're not coming in here and winning. This is our house. I love Mark Byington. I think he's a really good coach. And I understand sometimes you got to have an enforcer or two, but man, he's recruited some dirty kids. That Carey kid might be the most dirty player in the entire SEC. He got away with murder all night. And again, kudos to Felix. I didn't mind the technical. Carey started it. They never catch the guy that starts it. They always catch the retaliation. Again, another reason why the review is stupid, because how do you get to go to the monitor, watch that go down, and go, yep, still a technical on that guy. We're not going to pay attention to the thing that happened that led to it, even though we just watched it repeatedly on television. Again, reviews are stupid. But, I love that Felix had enough and went after him. I thought it sent a message to everybody. I thought the overall defensive intensity, they came out high intensity in the second half, but I thought when that happened, the intensity went through the roof, and they started guarding like there was no tomorrow. I loved it. I love seeing Tobe. I love seeing Felix having that mean streak in him. when Cade came in, Cade's got a little butt kicker in him. He doesn't mind to tell you about it. When Cade came in, he kept that same intensity, went right in there and started attacking people. I want to see that intensity level and that anger every game, all game long. When they play with that level of urgency, you can rotate 8-9 guys and be okay because everybody's going to come in there and play hard. When they play with that level of urgency, they are really hard to beat.
I want reviews are stupid on a shirt.
Hey, we can make that happen.
They've got to change that rule. Like, it's got to move to you can only do it in the final 2 minutes, and it can only be done on a play that, has potential to change the game, because it's just getting stupid. I mean, they go review everything under the sun, and then they sit there and look at it forever, and then they don't get to actually fix it half the time. Half the time they're just confirming what they called. The other half, they're realizing they screwed up, but they can't change it. And so they're sitting there looking at it going, all right, what can we do with this?
They are, to your point, as bad as the officials have been, they are hamstrung by the rules. Like, they're not given the agency to fix it or make the correct call. So you could start there, at least, as a league or in the NCAA, at least give them the agency to make the correct call. It's like that, I can't remember if it was the NFL or college with the targeting. Like, they could pick the flag up, but it was, but they was still penalized. Like, they're not ejected, but it's still a 15-yard penalty. It's like, for what?
Yeah.
For what? If it wasn't targeting that you threw the flag for, why is it a 15-yard penalty?
It makes zero sense that we have a review system where everybody sitting in the gym is watching it on the Jumbotron going, okay, clearly that's the right call. Everybody at home's watching replays ad nauseum going, okay, clearly that's the right call. But the three people who have to make the call don't get to fix it. Like, that makes zero sense.
I did like something you said there, Rustin, about Felix. I really think he's been great the last 3 weeks or so.
Yes.
I think he's adjusted to Barnes' system, to his teammates, to SEC play. Seem to be more aggressive. I know plus minus isn't everything, but he tied Zakai yesterday with the highest on the team. I don't think that's a coincidence. And then, one thing too, you're talking about intensity in the second half. Vols got destroyed on the boards in the first half. And I don't remember the exact numbers, but it was like 20-12, and then they flipped that in the second half. It was like 20-10 Vols, and so we got that intensity back. Usually, at least in the men's game, rebounds is a good barometer for how hard you're playing. And I really, when I saw the halftime, I thought, gosh, like, just you can't get crushed. We talked about the boards earlier this year. They were getting out rebounded in basically every loss they had. So on track to get just blown out at home. One last thing I wanted to say about the game that I missed there, Evan, was Chaz Lanier, 21 points, only 2 threes, 2 of 5 from 3. He's kind of been that guy that's you only are scared of him at the 3-point line. If you can start getting him to attack the bucket more, get that little 15-foot jumper more, I think that really opens up Tennessee's offense a lot. So encouraging sign from Tennessee's best offensive player, most consistent offensive player yesterday as well.
That's a great point. The only thing I'll add to it, because y'all hit everything right on the head, the only thing I'll add is, as a former point guard back in my day, as a former point guard in high school, I appreciate solid basketball IQ plays. And we saw 2 probably within real time, less than 5 minutes. Game time, less than 2.5 minutes, I think, in the second half. What's the kid's name? Perry? I'm great with names.
Carey.
I'm Reed. Nice to meet you, Evan.
Yeah.
Jalen Carey.
Carey, there we go. So he picks up his 4th foul. And I think literally it was the very next possession. They immediately post up Felix on him and draw his 5th foul.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I no joke. I think there was maybe 40 seconds of game time that went by between those two fouls. I mean, just brilliant play. And then to Zakai's credit, the McLaughlin kid, I got that name right. So the McLaughlin kid, he picks up his fourth foul. Zakai knows he's got 4 fouls. Somehow the dude ends up on, I guess they switched on a screen. I can't remember, but the guy ends up on Zakai 40 feet away from the basket. He's almost at half court. And Zakai dribbles, puts his leg into him, dribbles into him, forces the guy to foul him. So here's the biggest guy on the court for Vanderbilt, picking up his 5th foul 40 feet away from the basket on a 5'9" point guard. I was like, that was genius. That was absolutely genius. And a huge moment in that game, because now you've taken Vanderbilt's 2 best big men out of the game at that point with multiple minutes left still to play. So that was, I love intelligent heads up plays. And both of those were fantastic.
Zakai is so good at drawing one of those fouls, bringing the ball up the floor.
Yes.
I don't even know why anybody would. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what opposing teams are doing, thinking they're going to press him up and down the court.
Exactly. You know they have to, in their scouting report, they have to be saying, get away from him. When he's bringing the ball to the court, watch him to make sure he doesn't step in front of you and get away from him so he can't. Like, they have to be saying that, because you're right. He is so good at picking up cheap fouls on people just crossing half court. Some of the comments came through. Bobby said Zakai has amazing resilience. He said play of the game was with 5.5 left. Igor blocks it at the basket, runs past Gainey, bringing the ball up the court for a finish at the other end. Yep. I was thinking of another play that happened today in the women's game. The women's game had a great play late in the second half, very reminiscent of when the men had a play a couple weeks ago where the ball went up the length of the court and never touched the floor. They passed it the whole way up the court, finished with a Cade Phillips dunk. Today
that was the Florida game. That was incredible.
Yep. Today the women had a very similar play. I think the ball hit the floor one time, and that was at the other end of the floor. Just fantastic. Like you said, Z seemed to take over, but we have to rebound. Carl makes a good point. He's like, this team, it doesn't seem like they have a B game. They either are playing their best, their A game, or it's their C game. There's not a middle ground here, especially offensively. And that's a great point, Carl. Moondrops BD said, Rick Barnes said Zakai plays his best ball when he's angry. He did.
Barnes must have ticked him off at the half or said something, because they came out like they're shot out of a cannon.
Yep. Josh said, who is our most important player to get to at least the Elite Eight? Zakai, Lanier, or Igor? Whoa, that's a good question. Because you can make a case that's each one of those people for different reasons.
You can't have, I would say if I could pick, I'll take a bullet point for each of them. I want Zakai to be the facilitator, not launching threes, and attacking, breaking down defenses, not falling in love with a 3-point shot. I want Lanier to also not fall in love with a 3-point shot and try to get some actions with him cutting toward the basket, get him the ball at the elbow. I don't think giving him the ball at the 3-point line and breaking down his man is his game. But if you can get it to him at the elbow or moving toward the bucket, get him going toward the basket more. So Zakai attack, don't fall in love with the 3. Lanier, get him the ball moving toward the bucket. And I just want Milicic to shoot more and be more confident in his game. Because I think, honestly, if I'm rating this team as far as NBA talent, that guy's number 1 for me. As far as his potential long term, that he is so gifted, so skilled, and has the size, and really plays really smart when he's playing really smart. He when the game slows down for him, he can make some great passes. And so I that's kind of a chicken out answer there, Josh. But all 3 of those guys are gonna have to do all 3 of those things for them to get to the Elite Eight or further this year.
Totally agree. Yeah, I mean, Igor when he's on, he is a mismatch nightmare.
He almost got him back in the Kentucky game. You know, he can.
Yep.
When he's on, he can really get you back into a game or win a game for you.
Mm-hmm. Rhonda said my watch reacted many, many times yesterday. Time to breathe. That's pretty good. I like that.
Here's some unsolicited life advice from me. My hobby last year was hopping on the spin bike when I watched fall football or basketball because it burned out some nervous energy and burned some calories and got stronger and fitter as it went. And my heart rate's already up anyway, so I might as well be exercising. So
I remember seeing you post that on Twitter, talking about got on the elliptical today or the bike, exercise bike while I was watching Vols football. I was like, that's a really good idea, actually.
I stay on it for a half and you get a good workout in and burns up some anxiety. So there you go. There you go, Rhonda.
Jonathan said, I don't think the men's team could have played any worse than the first half offensively. Let's see. Moondrops Beauty said, I think Coach Barnes got up under Zakai's skin after that first half, and it worked. Barnes told him they don't respect us. Zakai said, hold my Gatorade. I got this. I love that. That's great. Rhonda said, what on earth happened to Okpara? He was totally aggressive. That was great, wasn't it? Absolutely. Oreo Puppy Dog said, why not more Milicic threes? Why didn't he shoot it more? Yeah, good question. I think a lot of people want him to.
Only took 5 shots yesterday.
Yeah, that's not good.
10 points on 5 shots, though. I mean, he was efficient, but he needs to shoot more.
Josh said, do you think we see moving forward just sticking Meshack in the corner and hopefully he continues making that shot? When he is in the center of the court, it's easy for his defender to double. I mean, he certainly does shoot the ball well from the corner. I think we've seen that over his whole career. However, like these two gentlemen with me said, Zakai is one of the best people on the team at attacking the basket and more importantly, finishing at the basket.
Jemai.
What did I say?
Sakai.
Oh, I meant Jemai. Thank you. See, I'm so good with names. I mean, Zakai is also good at getting to the basket, and he's getting better at finishing. But Zakai, his size, unfortunately, hinders him finishing at the rim. Big, huge dudes are able to get over the top of him and block a shot pretty easily. Jemai is able to elevate above the big dudes. We finally, to Reed's point, we finally saw Chaz do that yesterday. There were a couple times when he penetrated and got up and protected the ball with his body. He's learning he has to do that. Jemai has always done that. And so Jemai is excellent finisher at the rim.
Chaz, leading rebounder for the Vols yesterday as well.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that. Huh.
Yeah, with 8.
Yep.
Austin
just seemed
said
like he was determined to be more proactive around the basket as a whole, which I want to see.
Austin said, even in the second half, Edwards was throwing up shots that had no business going in. He made 2 without looking at the basket. Let's see. I'm going to skip down a little bit here. I Bleed Orange, welcome. Ooh, I'm going to put this on purpose on the screen. Okay, Rustin knows why I'm putting this on here. Reed, wait till Thursday. It's going to be awesome. So I Bleed Orange said, just checking in from work. I'll see you later this week. Hey, appreciate you, buddy. He said, Tony V is the GOAT. Weekly reminder. I agree. Wait till you see what we got cooking for Thursday. I promise you, everyone wants to watch Thursday night. We have a very exciting announcement Thursday night. Also, side note, Hunter High, who hit his first career home run with Tennessee, and his parents, their video kind of went viral on the Twitters over the weekend when them watching his first home run, their reaction to it. We're going to have them live on our show Thursday night. So we're super excited about that. We'll get to talk with them about that moment. But this is a major hint, and I Bleed Orange doesn't even know it, but this is a major hint for what you're going to see Thursday night. So just tune in. It's going to be great.
Also, he's got the best walk-up music on the team with Prop Me Up Beside the Jukebox, I think was his walk-up song. So
that's awesome. I did not know that. That is fantastic. Let's see here.
I'm hoping to get to a game next weekend. We'll see. To baseball game.
So they host Samford next weekend. They got UNC Asheville in the midweek game, and then they host Samford next week. Like you said, Felix has really stepped up. I'm going to skip on ahead since it's 10:08. I apologize. I'm having to skip several comments here, but I do want to talk about men's baseball. Men's baseball. That's the only baseball. Okay.
It is the only one that we play.
So Carl, I told him I had his comment starred, and I'm going to use it to transition here. Carl said baseball series Vols 46, Hofstra 2, and did it in 3 6-innings at bat. And that's a fantastic point. Each game was only a 7-inning game. However, the Vols did not hit in any 3 of the 7 innings. So really they played 3 6.5-inning games, and they scored 46 runs. Now, before I turn it over to these two gentlemen for them to tell us what they thought, here's what I'm going to say. This is my point for this whole thing. The reason, and I texted Reed and Rustin earlier, and here's what I said. We're going to recap the Lady Vols game. We're going to recap the men's game, but for the baseball team, the men's baseball team, just so we're clear, for the men's the baseball game, the question is, did we learn anything about the men's about the baseball team that we didn't know before this weekend? Now, here's my answer to that question. What I'm going to say is we learned a whole heck of a lot about the transfer portal and its impact on college baseball. And here's why I'm going to say that. When you look at Hofstra and what they did this weekend, last time we were live, I mentioned that this Hofstra team, it wasn't a bad team. 3 years ago, 2022, they were in the NCAA tournament. They were in the Chapel Hill Regional just 3 years ago, before the transfer portal. This was a good team. This weekend, they played 17 true freshmen on their roster this weekend. They had 17 true freshmen on their roster. Here's what the transfer portal has done to college baseball. Teams like Tennessee are living it up in the transfer portal, buddy. Living it up. Because they've gotten, which I didn't know how to pronounce his name apparently until this weekend, but Gavin Keelan. I thought it was Gavin Klein. I was totally wrong apparently, because I'm so good with names. But Gavin Keelan, they got him. They got Andrew Fisher. They got all these guys from the transfer portal, and they're going to tear the cover off the ball every single weekend because of it. Teams like Hofstra, all their good players are now on other teams. They're on teams like Tennessee and other major Power 5s, Power 4 conference teams. And so teams like Hofstra, they're getting raided in the transfer portal, which is why they had 17 true freshmen on their roster. And so here's what I learned this weekend. What did I learn about the men, the baseball team? Yeah, they're flat good. I mean, there's no doubt about it. They are so stinking good. We knew that. Maybe we might have learned that they're a little bit deeper than we thought. But I will say this. Everybody earlier who said that we need to kind of wait until Houston to find out what this team's really about, I agree with that. Because Hofstra looked like the Bad News Bears out there. It was horrific watching them play defense. Prime example. Let's just take today. Let's not even think about last night when the second baseman, first baseman, and right fielder literally stood there and watched a ball drop right in between the three of them, reenacting the Spider-Man meme where they're pointing at each other, So let's not even think about that. Let's just think about just the second inning today. Just that one inning. Tennessee scored 8 runs off of 2 hits in the second inning today. 8 runs.
That's hard to do. That's hard to do.
I agree. I totally agree. 8 runs off of 2 hits in 1 inning. Now, it just so happened one of them was a Reese Chapman grand slam because the bases had been walked loaded. And when, I'm not totally sure I remember when, but I don't recall a time when a third baseman fielded a ball moving towards second, and he was so close to the bag that he decided to underhand flip the ball to the second baseman, but yet flipped it over the second baseman's head into right field, underhand toss. I think today during the second inning was the first time I may have ever seen that in my life. The poor pitcher for Hofstra, who started the game, he threw in less than 2 innings worth of work. He threw 70 pitches in 2 innings, only 28 of which were strikes. So I think we have to temper our excitement about what the Vols did this weekend, because Hofstra helped them out a whole lot. A whole lot. That's all I have to say about that. But Reed, what do you think we learned about the baseball team this weekend?
Well, when you asked, that was a good way to frame kind of the weekend, I think, is did we learn anything we didn't know about this team? I think, maybe they are a little deeper than we thought. I think that was one thing that I haven't learned that yet, but I'm thinking about learning it. We're gonna report back in a week or two and see. So maybe they're a little bit deeper. My first reaction was no, because here's a couple stats for you. This is the 4th straight series sweep to open the season at home under Tony Vitello. So for 4 straight years, when they have opened at home, they have swept the opposing team. Vitello's teams are 13-2 in opening series since he's been at Tennessee. So what he does is they win that, they dominate the to start the year. So I don't think I expected this. Maybe my one surprise, other than taking a note about depth, was I thought Doyle was great Friday night or Friday afternoon, whenever that was.
Yes.
4:30 pitch. He had 84 strikeouts last year at Ole Miss. He got 11 Friday night, and was throwing some gas, placing the ball. I thought I just object. I don't care who's hitting up there. Watching his stuff, I was pretty blown away by his arm talent, his placement. One hit shutout, pretty good start. I don't care who you're playing. Thought he was. I knew he was going to be good. He exceeded my expectations. I don't care if he's throwing a bullpen session with no live batters. I thought his velocity, his placement, the movement on the ball, that kind of arm talent coming from the left side as well, not something that you're necessarily used to seeing. Like when back in my day, when I was growing up, all your left-handed pitchers just basically were junk pitchers. You didn't have those guys throwing heat. So I was very impressed with him. Thought he was going to be a huge part of this team. My expectations are very high for him this year, and thus for Tennessee, maybe my expectations are a little higher than they were, even though they should have dominated this Hofstra team. So, the only thing I know is Doyle exceeded my expectations.
I'm glad you said that, because that was one thing that I thought of today as I was thinking about, how I would answer this question. And I think Tennessee fans, just like you said, Reed, I think they have to be so excited about Liam Doyle. That guy, we expected him to be good, but like you said, he exceeded expectations. No one was anticipating an 11 strikeout day, and he only threw 7 innings? I think he only threw 7 innings. I could be wrong.
He pitched 5 Friday night, I think. Friday afternoon.
Oh, so he only threw 5 innings. So I gave him more credit than.
Yeah, 5 innings, 1 hit, no walks, 11 strikeouts.
Okay, so 5 innings, that's 15 outs. So 11 of the 15 outs were strikeouts. That's nuts. I mean, that's really good.
58 pitches. I mean, just
God,
it's hard to pitch better than he did Friday. Again, I don't care if you're throwing a bullpen. Was very impressed with where he was placing the ball and the movement. So excited. I love to watch pitchers pitch, and I love the cat and mouse game of baseball. It's kind of all the stuff that happens in between when people swing a bat. You know, I love the cat and mouse game and the ball placement and watching how pitchers attack batters. And I think, you know, that comes through more live when you're at a game. You can kind of catch some of the cues that don't get picked up on TV maybe, but I'm excited to watch that guy pitch. I'm going to bookmark it on my calendar for the foreseeable future of trying to make those games at least live stream them.
Absolutely. Rustin, what did you think about the baseball team this weekend?
You keep saying that they may be deeper than we thought. I feel like somebody a week ago on here said this is the best team Tony Vitello has ever had, and people are going to be shocked by the level of depth that is on this roster. Who was that?
I think if I go back and check the tape, I said that. No, I'm just kidding.
Evan's going to use his media editing skills to move his mouth with your voice.
We're going to do one of those AI generated videos of me saying it.
So, a couple of things. Number one, if you haven't seen it yet, you need to go look up the box score for today's Rhode Island, William and Mary game.
Oh, 36-22.
Final score, 36-22.
Baseball, not basketball.
58 runs on 40 hits, 15 pitchers combined between the two. And here's the crazy part. They only played 7 innings.
Yeah, because it was a run rule.
They got run ruled.
Steven Scott, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, the big donkey guy from Virginia pitcher.
Steven Scott.
He said, this is the one time I hate run rule. They denied us a 60 run game.
Rhode Island had a 17-run 5th inning.
Yes. They combined for 58 runs in 7 innings.
Yeah, that's nuts.
So
to Rustin's point, though, and I will say this, if you go back and watch our Thursday show, Rustin did say that this would be the deepest team the best team Tony Vitello has ever had. And I said, whoa. And I said, all right, folks, mark it down. It was 9:47. I remember the time. I said, it's 9:47 Thursday night, February 13th. We're time stamping it here. You heard it here first. Rustin said it's the best team he's ever had.
Let me tell you why it sucks to be Hofstra. And why it's going to suck to be UNC Asheville on Tuesday, and why it's going to suck to be Samford next weekend. Blake Grimmer gets a pinch hit on Friday night. I think he got another one on Saturday. He's our 3rd string shortstop. I went and looked at all the other SEC rosters. Right now, conservatively, Blake Grimmer would be the starting shortstop at 8 SEC schools. He was a high school All-American, top 10 nationally 2 years ago. He's a redshirt freshman. That kid's hardly going to see the field this year. Now, he'll probably be our starter next year when Curley goes pro. But the kid was a high school All-American, and he is our 3rd string shortstop. This weekend, Dylan Lloyd didn't step on the mound. Braden Sharp, who got a pinch hit on Saturday and who Tony actually gave a shout out Saturday night, never stepped foot on the mound. And that kid was a top 3 high school pitcher nationally 2 years ago. Tegan Coons might have been the top high school pitcher in America last year. By all accounts, he's one of the top 3 pitchers on Team USA. Didn't step foot on the field this weekend. We have Braden, the Krenzel
real
kid.
quick, let me interrupt you just for a second, just to give everybody an update. So Tony did say that Tegan will probably see his first action next week against Samford. And Dylan Loy, we found out post game today. Dylan apparently is almost fully healthy, but apparently had some kind of injury, and they held him out. We may not see Dylan for a couple weeks. But to Rustin's point, what he's saying is, think about what Dylan Loy did at the end of the season last year to essentially keep Tennessee advancing through the SEC tournament, the Super Regionals in particular, and then the College World Series. That guy didn't step on the mound this weekend. That's how deep they are. Okay, go ahead, Rustin.
AJ Russell is still injured. Braden Krenzel, who was one of the top 3 to 5 high school pitchers in America, this past year, didn't step foot on the mound. People have raved about him in the preseason. There are people at D1 baseball who think Tegan Coons is the best pitcher on the entire staff. Okay. The depth, every pitcher we rolled out there was throwing low to mid 90s or high 90s. Every single one. Ryan Combs has the filthiest changeup I have ever seen in my entire life. Like, that kid has closer written all over. I'm not exaggerating. Like, when he threw that thing today, I was like, don't throw anything else. Just throw that over and over and over. No one's going to touch that pitch. And you know, they've raved about that. They've said that's probably why he's going to be the closer, because he has the most unhittable changeup anybody's ever seen. I've never seen a ball do that. Like, that thing was dropping 3 and 4 feet at high 80s. It is ridiculous. Then you look defensively. Jay Abernathy. Everybody has raved about Jay Abernathy. There's pro scouts talking about Jay Abernathy's a future first rounder. He hardly got on the field.
Yeah. That was the most shocking thing to me of the whole weekend.
Chris Newstrom, who they have raved about, and who I thought, okay, down the road he might help. No, that kid was in the mix. Manny Marin, that kid came out of nowhere. I mean, that kid's legit. He might be the best hitter on the whole team. Started game 1 at third base. Right. Levi Clark goes out there, goes 3 for 3, and doesn't get to play today. He was a triple away from the cycle. It is insane how much talent is on this team, and I don't know how they're going to get them all in. Like, it's and the reason why it sucks to be Hofstra, the reason why it's going to suck to be UNC Asheville, the reason why it's going to suck to be Samford next weekend. You know, today they started some of the bench guys. Well, when it gets to be a blowout and you're unloading the bench with all Americans. Like, there's no drop off. Some of the guys that were on the bench were better than the starters. And so, you know, you're sitting there going, there was a time Friday during that game. No, Saturday. It was during the Saturday game. The coach for Hofstra came out to take the pitcher out of the game. The reliever came to the mound and they caught it on camera. The pitching coach or the head coach, whichever one, left the mound. The relief pitcher was laughing. And the infielders around him were like, yeah, good luck. Have fun with this.
To your point today, they went up 12 or 12-1 in the second inning, and then, like, what do? You know, like, what else can you do if you're Tennessee?
Yeah.
How can you got to swing? You're not just going to stand up.
Yep.
I felt bad for Hofstra this weekend.
Yeah.
I'm really like witnessing a baby seal clubbing out there. You know, I just helpless. They were helpless. It didn't matter what Tennessee did, and it didn't matter who they brought in and who Tennessee brought in. And Tennessee hitting the ball in the gaps, hammering the ball in the gaps.
Oh, also. Yeah. That poor third baseman. There were a couple of balls that were hit at him. I was like, we're about to witness a murder. Like, this dude's going to die today.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I'll narrow it down to one specific person that I felt really bad for. In the second inning today, it was right before Reese Chapman hit the grand slam. They bring in the relief pitcher, because the first dude walked the bases loaded and there were so many errors behind him. And that's the thing, man. You know, the pitching staff for Hofstra just had to be so daggum frustrated because they finally get a pop-up in the infield or a ground ball, and they literally throw it into the first row of the bleachers, or they watch it fall right in between them. And they're like, come on, man, I finally got it out, and this is what y'all are doing with it. But that poor dude for the starter today, he walked the bases loaded and stuff, and they bring in a true freshman. His first college appearance ever is bases loaded at the defending national champion stadium with a senior hitter at the plate. And his second pitch of his college career is a grand slam over the left center field wall.
And it was a no doubter. That thing left in a hurry.
I was like, I feel so sorry for that kid. I mean, talk about a rough spot to come into a game.
Well, and as someone who's been in that locker room, that kid's not going to hear the end of it for the next 4 years. Like every time anything happens, they're going, hey, remember we were at Tennessee and they hit that ball 800 feet to left center off you?
Yeah, the second pitch of your career ever.
Yeah, welcome to the big leagues.
Yeah, for real. Some of the last few comments here that came through.
The only other thing I would add, I was really impressed with. Hofstra didn't have a pitcher that could break glass. I mean, typically we struggle with these kids that throw low 80s and a lot of junk. The lefty that started on Friday, I don't think he ever topped 83. And it was, gravity was taking hold of some of them. We typically struggle with guys like that because what have we seen to this point? We've seen our guys who all, on a bad day throw 91. And then when we go in the machines or we go in the cages and they crank the machine up as high as it'll go and sit there and work on hitting velo. And, so we go out there and face these junk ballers and typically we struggle a little bit. We didn't struggle. We were staying back and we were putting the ball in play hard. We were spraying it all over the place, which is what you have to do when people are throwing a bunch of junk at half speed. They did a really good job of staying disciplined. They drew a lot of walks. They didn't chase. They sat on their pitches, and when they got them, they hit them hard. That showed a ton of maturity, and I think some of that is the competition level in practice. Like these guys know if I don't have a great day today, I'm not going to play the next 2 games. And so
for sure.
They are very dialed in.
For sure.
That's your depth point too there, Russ. And like every single person had the same approach. It just seemed like they did seem, I know series 1, but they did seem more disciplined, not just trying to crank it out of the park. It's going to be a different team. You can't lose Christian Moore and Burke and expect to hit as many home runs as you did last year from a couple positions, but they were that from 1 to 18 or however many people saw at bats this weekend, they were hammering the ball and being patient. I very impressed. Very impressed. Maybe not what you would expect from the defending national champs, but they almost looked like, hey, we're going to come out here and prove that you got to take it from us.
Absolutely. 100%. Herb said he's going to be at the Samford game next Sunday. That's what I'm talking about. Josh said Samford's a good team. Yeah, they are. They got a tough task ahead of them, that's for sure. Mina Laggy said, Evan, are you smoking again? She noticed I turned my lights off behind me because, yes, I could smell the light thing melting again over there. So I had to turn it off. Prefer not to set my house on fire. Let's see. Josh said he learned nothing. The only thing he learned was that Andrew Fisher is going to be an aggravating guy to watch. Great power, but a ton of swing and miss. He also walked a lot, so that's good. His on-base percentage was fantastic just because I think his first 2 at-bats today, he drew walks both times. He walked twice yesterday, too, I think. And he had a home run on Friday, so let's see.
Yeah, he's got five walks already on the season for Fisher.
Yep. So he's disciplined, so we know that. That's good. Jonathan said the baseball team looks really good. I know the competition wasn't the highest level of competition, but offensively and pitching, we look dominant for sure. Totally agree. Let's see. Big Orange said, I was just talking to a Texas fan in a baseball chat, and he was telling me he's not one to talk trash on the Vols, but he thinks it should be known that Texas is the real UT. Why do they think that? I don't know, buddy. As far as I'm concerned, I think somebody else said it in the comments. The University of Tennessee was a university before Texas was a state. So I think that makes us the real UT. Let's see.
They don't
Josh
know
said
history.
That's exactly right. Josh said my super early takeaway is we will be much deeper on the mound, but take a step back on offense. We were hitting fine, but it wasn't like we strung together 4 or 5 hits in a row in any inning. That's true, and part of that was because they kept walking us today. I mean, that dude threw 70 pitches in less than 2 innings, and only 28 of them were strikes. That's sad. That is not good.
That's nightmare. Like, if you're gonna have nightmares about that game for that poor pitcher, like,
mm-hmm. Absolutely. Carl was impressed by the freshmen, their bats for Tennessee this weekend. Absolutely. Rhonda said, who's going to be this year's Christian Moore? Loved watching him last year. Who do y'all think? If you had to pick one guy.
Man, he's such a unicorn. That guy. Mm-hmm. I mean, you've seen what he's doing already, moving up the ranks. Love. I don't know. I can't compare anybody. It's like we're not comparing anybody to Connect. We shouldn't. I don't think we can compare anybody to Moore personally. I mean, they've got a lot of talented bats on that team, but that guy was a once in a lifetime baseball player, once in a quarter century baseball player.
Totally agree. 100%.
The coaches wanted to be Dean Curley.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is an awesome name. Andronicus T. Faust. That's what I'm talking about. He said, how many do you think are going to the draft off this year's baseball team? Well,
7 or 8.
I think, yeah. I think that we got to clarify. The question says, how many from this team will end up getting drafted? Now, if we're talking about just this year, then like Rustin said, somewhere between 6 to 8, maybe 5 to 8 people, probably more than that. Probably
it'll be at least 6. It'll be at least 6. We've got 5 of the top 100.
But if you're looking at all total, how many people that are on the 2025 baseball team that will end up being drafted?
Almost all of them.
You're
looking at over 20. For sure.
I agree. That is going to be a fun season.
And that'll be a fun stat to keep track of, really. How many guys off this team end up being drafted?
Well, I think they had the stat Friday afternoon. Tennessee being a draft factory basically these last few years under Vitello, so it's only going to keep going up.
Absolutely.
I love what they're doing with number 1. I don't know if you saw that or not, but number 1's retired. That was Condridge Holloway. Technically, nobody should be wearing that jersey. But Tony has created a tradition that every year the best player is going to get number 1. And Condridge was in agreement and allowed it. And so the number will continue to be worn, but it's going to be moved from year to year. And whoever the coaches deem as the best player on the team will be wearing number 1.
That's cool. Josh said Texas A&M won all 3, but struggled against Elon this weekend. Let's see. Big Orange said, imagine if both Kavaris Tears and Dylan Drawling were on the team this year. That'd be fun. Carl's vouching. You did say that it was potentially the best team ever. Appreciate that, Carl. Josh said, if AJ Russell can come back and be the AJ that we're used to, I don't know how any team in the country has a better pitching staff. Totally agree.
You haven't seen Tegan Coons yet.
The depth of arms and bats they're just going to be able to throw at teams in a series. It's one of the things I love about baseball. is just the series format, and you see it. It's more pronounced, obviously, when you get to the College World Series or in the MLB when you've got a series matchup. It is a matchup game. It is, and Tennessee is going to have a lot of answers because of their depth for any matchup any other team wants to throw at them. Where maybe there's more value in that than having a Blake Burke and a Christian Moore situationally. Yeah, I think with it being such a long season and the depth of the SEC.
Absolutely. Jonathan said, how are we going to get everybody enough playing time? Great question. I don't know. Good question.
Did a good job this
see.
weekend.
Yep, for sure. And that was one thing Rustin and I were talking about the other day is I think we're going to see very similar to what we saw last year. We'll see it Wednesday or Tuesday against UNC Asheville. We'll see it next weekend. You're going to see a lot of different lineups the first couple weeks. Sam said Coach Tony Vitello talked about being able to bring in Abernathy as a pinch runner. Dude can fly. I mean, he can fly. Josh said, don't let us win basketball in April and go back-to-back in baseball in June. That's exactly right. I got one last man, we got so many good comments, though. It's hard to pass them up. But Jonathan said the answer to how many players will end up being drafted from this team is yes. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Sam said you have to imagine some of these guys are going to show development this year. Absolutely, for sure. Tony said, how many SEC teams could Ariel Antigua start for? I say several.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Probably the same 8. I mean, at least the same 8 that Blake Grimmer could start for. Maybe more.
Ariel Antigua might be the best defensive middle infielder in the conference. I mean, the guy is a walking Gold Glove winner, but there's so many other good bats around him. That's the deal there. I got one last thing, and I didn't mention this to either of these guys, but we're going to end the show with this. I'm going to share my screen so you can see this. Vols Titan said this team has the talent, just have to gel together, get some breaks, get into the World Series, and a chance at it again to be solid. It's tougher now than just 5 years ago, for sure. But I do think they do make it back to Omaha. I'll be shocked if they don't. But I want to show y'all this. I have a conspiracy theory. We're going to end the show with a conspiracy theory. It's not really a conspiracy theory, but it kind of is. So this was the proposed uniform lineup from Nike for Tennessee baseball this year. Jerseys like this were delivered to various retail establishments. Fanatics.com had these jerseys on there. We saw one of them this weekend, the new home uniform on the left, which I think is certainly an upgrade over the Friday night white uniform from last year that had the Tennessee word mark across the chest. I love this pinstripe with the piping down the middle. I love it. Looks great. But notice the other 3 jerseys. This is not the Sunday cream we saw today. The Sunday cream we saw today was awesome. It was
last year's uniform.
It was with an addition of a thick orange stripe down the side of the pant, which I loved. I mean, that was my favorite uniform last year. And then you add on that stripe on the pant, and I'm like, sign me up, man. That's awesome. It looked so good.
So I don't
orange jersey.
I don't know if this is true, but the rumor is we're going to see those pinstripes on Tuesday against UNC Asheville, that's going to be the midweek uniform. And the rumor is that the cream one and the orange one got sent, and the coaches and players thought they were made like crap and sent them back. And that's why they're wearing last year's jerseys.
So that's my theory. I think that they saw them and they were like, these look terrible. They sent them back because they liked last year's better.
The person who told me that said it wasn't about the look, it was about the quality. They said that the cream one and the orange one were both horribly made, and that they sent them back because the players were complaining that they were just trashy.
Well, you remember it was last year, right, when the MLB switched their uniform contracts and they had all the same issues with Fanatics and took over the contract. The players were protesting in the spring, like they're sweating through jerseys and uniforms, and it was a big thing last spring, and they've had to kind of do similar things basically.
Well, and Brian Rice made a good point. If you look at that orange one, that is actually not the correct word mark.
Yeah.
Right.
The Vols script is too thin. It's not correct. It's supposed to be thicker than that. So I think that was another reason why that one was denied. But I'm glad they did, because the ones we're wearing right now look way better than those two.
And remember, 6 weeks ago, we said on here, they had concerns that the uniforms weren't even going to get there by opening day. That was a big concern. So then they get them there, and apparently at least two of them, they were like, no, and they sent them back. Which also begs the question, did they not change the black jersey?
That was the other caveat. You don't see dark mode on here. So I'm assuming that's staying the same.
I love the dark mode last year.
So did the guys. That team loved that jersey. They chose to wear it in every important game at the end of the season there.
Mm-hmm.
This pinstripe one, though, I do like it better than last year's pinstripe. And I like the white button-down Friday night jersey better than last year's. But man, the orange jersey from last year and the creams from last year that they wore this weekend, fantastic. Carl made a good point. You don't see smoky grays on here either. So it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting.
Somebody made a comment about they don't like the pullovers. They prefer the button downs. The players are the exact opposite. The players hate button downs. They don't, because of all the slim fit stuff and because of the fabric, the button downs never stay tucked in. The buttons always come unbuttoned. It's just annoying. And because you don't warm up in your game jerseys are hanging in the dugout or in the locker room. The players like being able to just go throw on the pullover, tuck it in, and go. So players, if you poll the players, they will all say they only want pullovers. They don't want the button downs. Nike wants them to wear button downs, so that's why they keep selling it, because they know they sell. But the players themselves don't want them.
Josh said we better not have taken out the dark mode best uniform in the game. Yeah, I don't think they have. I think we'll see those for sure. Big Orange said if we make it to another World Series final, we have to wear those creams that we wore today. Those things were so good, man. They were the best looking uniform we've worn in a long time. Rhonda said Vitello's going to look good no matter what they wear, just saying. Big Orange said we need a cream helmet with an orange power tee to go with that cream jersey. That'd be pretty sweet. Let's see.
I'm not sure Evo Shield. I have to look. I'm not sure Evo Shield makes that color.
Andronicus T. Faust, which still is an awesome name, said if you had a choice, who wins the next natty, or who wins the next first, and who wins the next natty first, basketball, baseball, or football? I'm going to say basketball, because they're the one that's coming up soonest, because if they win it, then that still allows baseball and football to also win it this year. So that's my answer to that question. I hope that basketball does, so everybody can. Let's see.
I would go hoops too, just as a lifelong hoops fan who has not seen Tennessee make a Final Four. I have seen Tennessee win a football and a baseball national championship, so go hoops too.
Adronicus said, great show. We appreciate you, buddy. Thank you very much. Vols Titan said he agrees the original cream is the best. Rhonda liked my answer there. Well, Reed, you're the man, dude. I say that every time, and I mean it every single time. I'm so thankful for you. We sure do appreciate you taking time to join us. You make this show better, and we appreciate your time, and I'm not kidding. We got to set up a time for you to come down and play some golf with us. We'll have dinner. It'll be a good time.
No, I'm totally in.
That's what I'm talking about.
Enjoyed it as always, guys, and everybody who watched and commented. Appreciate y'all. You got a good community here, so always enjoy spending my Sunday evenings with you fine folks.
And to the 562 people watching across all 3 platforms, we appreciate you. Like Reed said, he said, I'd like to see, what was it Rustin said? Reviews are a waste of time. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Something like that. Yeah.
We need to go back and find that and put it on a shirt.
Yeah. So
no, I said reviews are stupid.
Reviews are stupid. That's what it was.
If we don't get to change it and fix it and make it right, there's no point.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I'm just saying that right there is another reason to watch Thursday night, because we got a really exciting announcement Thursday night. I'm pumped about it. So I hope everybody joins and watches. Shirts, Tony being the GOAT. There's just so many things tonight. It's like the Lord's working, pointing everybody to Thursday. Trust me, you want to be here Thursday. So Carl said, Reed, you're the man. Evan Rustin, reviews are stupid. Like he said, that's how we should spell it on the shirt too. I like that. That's what I'm talking about. Sam, appreciate you, buddy. Thanks for joining us. Minalaki, thank you so much for joining us. Rhonda said, thanks, Reed. Great show, guys. As always, go Big Orange. Appreciate you. Jonathan said, great show as always. Glad you could be on here again, Reed. We love it when Reed joins us. It's awesome. Vols Titan said, baseball again. Tony's ahead of the game. Sam said, video review confirms it was a bad call. I love that. Because don't you know, like those people, when that call was made today on Samara Spencer, and they're sitting there watching the replay, they're like, oh, man, there's like 1 million people watching at home that realize just how bad of a call this was now.
But dadgummit, we're going to keep that foul on, because
exactly.
Heaven forbid we change that.
Exactly. Big Orange said, great show, fellas. I always go Big Orange. Eric said, peace out, Valbros and Reed. We do appreciate you, Reed. We appreciate everybody joining us. And we hope everybody has a great week. And Thursday night, be on the lookout for our show Thursday night. There's one baseball game between shows that'll be this week, and then the women play again Thursday at 6:30. So they'll be finished before we go live. And we're super excited to have Hunter High's parents join us Thursday night to talk about that moment, getting to see their son hit his first career home run with the Vols this past weekend. So a lot of stuff to look forward to for Thursday night. We hope everybody has a great week. Go Vols, baby, and we'll see you very soon.